Today we're taking a look at how we made our second Bloodtober film, Ghost House. Welcome to Film Riot, the show that takes mystery out of the effects and techniques going some of your favorite Hollywood films. I'm your host, Ryan Conley, and yesterday we released our second Bloodtober short, Ghost House, so as always, if you haven't seen it, stop now and go watch that first, right here. Link is also in the notes. We also have a Vimeo version if you prefer that extra sexy quality. Link for that is in the notes below as well. And also, before we jump in, if you want to know how to be a part of $40,000 in giveaways, check out our giveaways detailed video right here. And if you haven't seen the video we just released about us changing the rules for the giveaway, definitely check that out with the details right here. We're now only allowing 3 posts per social platform per day. And finally, stick around until the end to find out how you can get over 2 hours of bonus content from Ghost House, including behind the scenes, interviews with my actors, and a ton more. But now with that out of the way, that the #1 make it or break it thing with Ghost House was going to be the location. We really needed to find a place that was a character on its own. It had to let us dive into that familiar haunted house world, and we really lucked out. We found this house at Storybook Ranch. They used it as an office, but allowed us to move all their stuff out and dress it how we needed, which it definitely helped us that this whole film takes place during a move. It allowed us to just strip rooms bare, throw some boxes in and whatnot, and there you go. For those boxes, buying them can actually get pretty expensive, so we saved up boxes that we got from deliveries and recent moves to use here. The problem was that they all had logos on them like Amazon or Home Depot, which obviously wouldn't work. So to solve this, we just cut the boxes, flip them inside out, and then tape them back up, and voila, free blank moving boxes. But the first shot up on our first day was going to be our hardest by far, and we knew this, which is why we scheduled it that way, to get the hardest knocked out right away and get some solid momentum. It was also our only daytime shot and the only shot where the talent would be in different wardrobe, so across the board it made most sense to start here. For this opener, which of course is an obvious tip of the hat to The Conjuring as a way to set the stage for parody, but is also just felt like the best way to get us into the piece. And with this move in, once we find our first actor, I wanted the camera moves to be motivated from there on out. So we never shift until someone or something carries us in that direction, like the trade-off of the movers here, Emily shifting our focus here, and then Hannah moving us into a reveal of Graham. And I knew I didn't want to cut away from this shot. I love the feel of just living in the space, but just in case it didn't flow the way I wanted, I did shoot a little bit of coverage like this reverse of Emily here, and a POV of looking through the camera's lens that Graham was holding right here, which I shot with my iPhone. But none of that flowed right, and the oneer just felt like the way to go.
Stole Ryan's chair. Yeah, boss.
And to pull this scene off with the look that we wanted, my DP, which is the crazy talented Ryan Booth, had the Alexa Mini, which we got on loan from my friends at Contrast Films. Link for them in the notes. We had that on a Movi, and all of this was connected to our Easy Rig, which had a Serene arm. So we ended up with this really nice, almost steady cam-like shot. And if you don't know what that is, the Easy Rig is the harness and line that you see here. You attach your camera to the line and it helps keep the weight off your arms. The Serene arm is an add-on that is basically a shock absorber for all the vertical movement, so when you're walking and whatnot. And now you know. Then in a totally different room at our location, we had our first AC Chase Smith pulling focus wirelessly off a 32-inch small HD monitor. He also did an iris pull right here, which is where he adjusts the f-stop during a shot to correct the exposure as light levels change. This one was a must. Props and wardrobe were a big part of this as well, as you can see, and just like Chainsaw, all of our vintage props came from eBay, like the Walkman, the clock, even the matchbook. The only thing that didn't was the camera, which I used for my own collection of vintage cameras, which I found at a thrift store. But back to the oneer, it took about 13 takes to really nail down the timing and performance. There was a lot of dialing in with smaller details like whether or not she held the box, and I think it was those smaller details that were really going to help this shot work or not. But I get into that with a lot more detail in Watch with Ryan, which is our director's commentary feature in our Ghost House digital download pack, which comes out on Monday. So after we got this shot done, it was time to move upstairs and shift everything to night. So Ryan Booth and I walked through all the scenes upstairs to talk out the ideas to get on the same page with what we wanted to do. Then Booth was able to grab his team and start working on making things look amazing, as Booth does. Which of course we're doing interior day for night, and to do that our team tinted some of the windows, like in the bathroom scene here. Our grips went out on the roof and created a box around the windows using solids to black out the sunlight. Then we could add a light in there to give a moonlight look if we wanted. And can we just for a second just look at how entirely badass my gaffer and grips were? With the master bedroom scene, it wasn't possible to tent the windows, so instead Booth decided to throw on a bunch of layers of ND that he could start to strip down once the sun started to set, so we'd be able to keep a consistent look. I have no idea how he did it, but we started in bright sunlight and ended when it was fully night, and it all matches perfectly because Booth. Swag. After that, it was time to start shooting again, which we'll do after some business. If you're a budding filmmaker, entrepreneur, innovator, domain.com is a place to go when that next idea hits you directly in the face. I know you've heard me say that the list of available domain extensions is growing, but you now have the opportunity to name your site and build your brands in ways that was never before possible. You can choose from a growing list of 400 plus domain name extensions like .com, .org, .design, and .club. And to show you some love, they're giving you 25% off their already affordable prices. When you get domain names, web hosting, and email, just use your coupon code FilmRiot at checkout. And when you think domain names, think domain.com. Logo. And jumping right back in, the first thing that we shot upstairs was that master bedroom scene, which was almost entirely shot on the Kessler Shuttle Dolly, and this is honestly one of my new favorite pieces of gear. It's essentially a slider on steroids. Now, I love sliders. They definitely have their place, and I have used them a ton, but they don't fit how I usually like to shoot. So the Shuttle Dolly is an answer to my film prayers. It's a big carriage with these wheels, and then you get speed rails from Home Depot, which is basically just smooth pipe, and there you go. We drop on our Benro BV10 head onto the carriage, and then Booth was able to pull off really dynamic moves like this one here. Unlike Chainsaw, I wanted Ghost House to be smooth movements and minimal cuts, since although this was a comedy, I wanted to shoot it how I would a legit horror film, since this, in my opinion, would be a whole lot funnier if we landed actual creepy, legitimate horror moments. And with trying to build tension or suspense of any kind, I usually like to cut less, making the audience feel that they're in that room. For instance, this scene here with Emily is just 2 shots total. The one that covers Emily's side, push in on the door, and that's it. And to pull that shot off, we threw the Kessler Pocket Jib onto the Shuttle Dolly. That way we could start over the bed looking at the lamp and then move back to a single CU of our talent, which I have to say I got this idea from Joe Simon. Then again, since we are on that jib, once she gets up, we're able to rise up and come around over her shoulder. One interesting thing about this shot is that I did a very simple animatic of it in FrameForge 3D, but I never showed it to Booth. So just through proper communication and Booth's crazy talent, the shot ended up looking almost identical to the animatic, which again, you can see in our digital download pack, which comes out on Monday. Next, we jump into the bathroom scene. Here, I wanted everything locked down until the creature shows up, so it feels like he's completely alone until that moment. So we threw the Alexa on the BV10 from Benro, which is also the same tripod that we're giving away. It's just a really solid tripod. It can handle a lot of weight, and it's very low cost compared to similar systems. So we jumped around, got all the coverage on sticks that we needed, then moved to the Shuttle Dolly again, but we'll get more into that shot next week. Once the lights were out though, all the lighting was coming from an outside source and the Westcott Ice Light, which is a lightsaber looking piece of awesomeness right here. It's a rechargeable battery powered light that is way brighter than anticipated. Best thing about it is how portable it is. It's perfect for Hollywooding the light, which means just holding it, not having it on a stand, but also has mounting points, so Booth was able to rig it up for some fill and to get a solid eye light. Since you can dim the ice light, it made it really easy to work into the scene. But after we knocked out the bathroom, including spitting the tooth into the sink, which was just dental acrylic teeth that you can get off Amazon for like $8. Next up was our downstairs goodness. All the slow-moving, creepy house build-up stuff, which again was all on the Shuttle Dolly. And then we moved to the gas stuff, which was where we finally came out of smooth motion and into violent handheld to push the unhinged vibe of the character. And I love Booth's lighting in this scene. He had some fixtures outside pumping light through the windows. We had my COB 120T off to the side, hitting the ceiling for some fill, and a flex light on top of this bookcase fireplace thingy. The great thing about flex lights is that they are these extremely light and thin, powerful lights that can also bend and shape however you need, so they're really easy to get into small corners and tough spots with very little rigging. For throwing the gas around, which was water, of course, not gas, since this was a historic house, we needed to be very careful. So we grabbed a tarp and packing blanket and laid those just off frame for Graham to throw the water into. So even though he's on the stairs and the liquid is just water, it wasn't getting the rug or wood floors. So that's it for today. Next week, we're diving into the visual effects that went into this short film. My good friend Andrew Kramer was able to find some time to jump on board and help us out with the bigger visual effects in between finishing Intercept, so we'll be talking about that. And if you dug the film and want a lot more, make sure you check out our digital download pack for Ghost House, which is coming out on Monday. We have over 2 hours of additional content, including the on-set experience, which is well over an hour of what it was like to be on set with us making the film. Watch with Ryan, which is my director's commentary, with a ton of additional BTS videos and images and me pausing and rewinding it to really dive into my process of how I made the film. It's about a 5 5 or 6 minute short film, but the watch with Ryan is around a half hour long. Then we have the first and final draft of the script, digital poster, raw frame grabs so you can mess around with color grading, an interview with both of my actors where we chat about acting and what it's like for them to be on set and interacting with the director, then the full-length version of my discussion with cinematographer Ryan Booth, and an animatic to scene comparison. This is definitely our most packed full film digital download yet, so check that out on our store on Monday, and I'll see you guys next week with more Bloodtober goodness.